As of today, Trump is reversing the course of the tariffs, or he's basically pausing them for 90 days.
To me right now, it seems like one of the most important things for salespeople, for business owners, is to just be prepared for whatever happens. And knowing in your soul that whatever happens out there, I can handle it. And I'm going to be okay, and maybe I'll take care of my family.
What I want to do today is I want to talk about how an entrepreneur, how an owner, how a salesperson can take advantage of the situation.
Let's do it.
All right, Mary, you ready to go?
Let's go.
Hey, welcome to Jason Forrest Show. I'm with my wife, Mary Forrest, and today we're talking about tariffs and how those tariffs can be happening to you or they can be happening for you. And so today we're going to show you and share with you several different strategies that we are teaching our clients right now to take advantage of the tariffs so that you can sell more and improve people's lives. All right, Mary, you ready to go?
Let's go.
All right, Mary, let's talk about tariffs.
Let's do it.
All right. It's a crazy thing right now. It's just as of today, Trump is reversing the course of the tariffs, or he's basically pausing them for 90 days, except for China. So China still has the effect of tariffs. Of course, because of that, the markets are skyrocketing. Right, markets are up. I believe it's the highest increase, single day increase since like World War II. But at the same time, just a few days ago, when the tariffs were released, the market crashed. And so we have this kind of huge circumstance right now that's affecting the economy. And so what I want to do today is I want to talk about how that's really affecting the consumer confidence out there. But as the ultimate sales warrior, how an entrepreneur, how an owner, how a salesperson can take advantage of the situation.
Well, I like that. And I think, the highest level is being prepared for whatever's happened. And in the last, 10 years, the amount of crazy things that have happened in the economy, obviously with COVID and what that did to supply chain. If we look at different, 10 years ago, our government shut down for a little bit. You look at a lot of the companies we've worked with that have been in heavily, circumstantial situations based on the weather that have shut down their business, destroyed their business, like physically destroyed it, and what to do. And so to me right now, it seems like one of the most important things for salespeople, for business owners, is to just be prepared for whatever happens. Yesterday is different than today, and who knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And I think becoming more comfortable with that uncertainty and being prepared and knowing in your soul that whatever happens out there, I can handle it, and I'm going to be okay, and maybe I'll take care of my family.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. I remember my dad has always been kind of a contrarian. So he owns this jewelry store in North Dallas. And I remember in the 2008 ish market, I remember calling him up, and there was a radio news on the radio show. It said that jewelry sales are down at an all-time low. And I called my dad up and I said, how's business? And he said, son, sales are up 30%. And I said, Dad, how is that possible? And he said, people are still buying diamonds. The only question is from whom. And he said, look, I don't like the fact that people are suffering right now as a whole. He said, but it's actually phenomenal for my business. And I said, how is it phenomenal for your business? And he said, well, it's all about how you take advantage of it. He said, people go into Bakkendorfs, they go into Tiffany's, they go into Jared's, and of course the first question they ask is, how's business? And the salesperson usually says things are slow. And what's interesting is the customer is looking for permission to buy. And so at those other jewelry stores, they say, well, things are kind of slow. And so immediately it gives them permission to not buy. It says, okay, well, I guess no one's buying. My theory is correct. I guess I shouldn't buy. And he says, they come into my store, and I said, business is up, things are great. And then of course he turns it on them. And he says, so what are you hearing out there from the other jewelry stores? And of course they'll say, well, I was over at Bakkendorf's and Tiffany's and Jared's and Gordon's, and they were saying that the traffic's really slow and no one's really coming in right now. And he said, and he just immediately responded. He goes, that's them over there. That's not us. That's people are still buying from us. People are looking for an engagement ring. They're looking for a wedding present. They're looking for Valentine's. I'm curious, what brings you in today, and what are you looking to buy today?
That's great. What advice do you give somebody? Like, what if realistically things are slow? They have slowed down in your business, and somebody comes in and says, how is business? What do you think is the right response for a salesperson to give?
I think the right response is to tell the story of the people who are buying. So I'm not saying you're not lying. but you're not gonna say, yes, traffic, or yes, the inbound customers that are coming in are down by 30%. So you're not going to tell them that part, but you are going to tell them the truth part, the factual part, which is people are still buying. And so you're just going to say, so they say, how's business? And you're going to say, well, business is doing great. Just yesterday, I had someone came in and they were looking for this, and we were able to solve this problem for them, and this is what was able to happen. And so tell the stories of the people who are buying, because that's all a customer is looking for, is they're just looking for permission to buy.
That's great. That's great advice. And what about, do you think when a salesperson does say it's really slow, things have slowed down, it's not going great, something like that, it is also inviting the customer to ask for a discount?
Tell me more. What do you mean?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I would think. If business isn't good, then I would think, oh, they're probably more desperate for my business. So what kind of deal am I going to get?
Got it.
From being here?
Got it. So you're thinking that the salesperson themselves they're framing that in their head, saying that if the customer is asking how's business, and they're saying, hey, I need a discount, so therefore I need to yield for it. I need to give them a discount.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was actually thinking about it from the consumers, the prospects or the customers' point of view of walking in, and if I'm hearing that. I mean, when I think a business isn't doing well, I think huge sales,
right.
Because they need to drive some bit of revenue. And so for me, if I was hearing that a business wasn't doing well, I would be assuming that there would be some sort of deals and discounts. That's going to be part of the process later that they're going to share with me.
Right. Got it. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. That would make sense. And so, but again, that's why I think it's important to just stay on course and constantly tell the customer about the success stories about who is buying. So even if there are again, overall you have less customers that are buying right now from you compared to a month ago or 6 months ago, you're not going to tell them that part. You're going to stay focused on the people who are buying, not that maybe overall your business is down.
So do you think that right now there's more opportunities for people to have success than maybe in the past?
I do. I'm just like my father. I mean, that was something that he programmed me to believe, that I believe the same thing. And that's a warrior always finds an advantage. Or, if you listen to, the great Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett would say, be opportunistic when others are fearful and be fearful when others are opportunistic. And so what he's basically saying is that when do the opposite, right? So if everyone is buying, then you should be selling, and you should not be buying. If everyone else is selling, then you should be buying. So you really want to do the opposite of what the herd mentality is, and which makes sense because if you ever think about it, like the majority of the population are not rich, the majority of the population are poor. So you don't want to follow what the majority is doing. You want to follow what the minority is doing.
Yeah. So we've spent the last week at a business owners conference learning. And so I'm really curious from you. There was a lot of really wonderful, great speakers that were there. But if you could share like one thing that stood out to you, that maybe was a new belief or a new idea that you had from this week, what would that be?
Yeah, so we went to the GLC conference, which is the Global Leadership Conference for the Entrepreneurs Organization, and so this is for the kind of the board positions of EO, and there was 2,000 ish.
Yeah, I think about 2,000, correct.
Business owners there. So this organization, it's called Entrepreneurs Organization. I've been a member of it for the last 14 years now, and this year I'm in a board position, and so this is for these board members to all come together. We were in Hawaii, and to learn how to be the best board member that we can, to give back and to serve this great organization that, of course, serves us as entrepreneurs and business owners. And so we had great speakers. So we had Guy Kiyosaki, which was there, and I would say, from him, to rattle it off from him, one of the big things that stood out from him is he talks about this idea of you don't have to be perfect to get started. You just need to get started, which I think is important. I think a lot of people they spend too much time kind of getting ready to sell versus just start selling, just start getting out there and start doing something versus kind of too much planning, which I think is important to do. And then Another person that stood out was Marcus Lemonis. Did I say that his name correctly? I believe.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. So from The Prophet, you and I have watched The Prophet many, many times, and he was very vulnerable with us. He shared some great vulnerabilities with us about his own kind of mental toughness struggles that he deals with, which was interesting to hear because it's Marcus Lemonis. I mean, he's just this powerhouse business owner and business leader, and he himself struggles with anxiety and different things that business owners. We also learned, I thought this was pretty fascinating, learned that I didn't know this, that half of all business owners or entrepreneurs are twice as likely to have kind of deal with depression or even suicidal thoughts than non-entrepreneurs because of kind of the Atlas weight of their shoulders on their shoulders, which is pretty interesting. But I would say one of the things that I learned from Marcus was just the importance of and the reminderness of the more that we serve our employees, the more they will serve us. And so to really spend time with what are each of our employees, what are they looking for out of their time with our organization, and what are they trying to accomplish, and who are they trying to become, and how can we help them fulfill that during that time they're with us, which of course goes along with the whole Zig Ziglar quote of helping people get what they want. You can always get what you want. So I would say that was a big thing that I learned from him.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought that would be important to share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I agree with going back to what you said about Guy Kawasaki, which was really, really fun to watch him, is hearing about the what you talked about them getting started and just going for it. And there were a lot of questions that came up about that. I mean, people asking, but we live in a cancel culture. Like maybe that worked back when you started your career, but it doesn't work today, which are things that we hear as well too. Like, oh, that worked, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's totally different today. And I loved how he came back with, no, the only way to get where you really want to be is to jump in and try. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be great. And but you keep going, and that's the pathway to your greatness and to figuring out exactly who you are. You're as a sales professional, who you are as a business owner, how you are as a leader is by jumping in and giving it your best. And then you adjust, and then you adjust, and then you adjust, and you keep going. But if you don't jump in there because you're so afraid of being embarrassed, you're so afraid of being canceled, you're so afraid of the comment section, you'll never actually get there, which I thought was really powerful, I think, for everyone in the room to hear. Mm-hmm.
Really powerful. And that goes along with, again, just this whole situation right now with the tariffs, because if people, if salespeople and if business owners, if they are, again, very external and they're very worried about, again, what the world is, like what's happening right now in the world and how it's going to affect their business, then what's going to happen is that they're going to put the brakes on. And so, here's an interesting metaphor that I heard one time is that when you're driving down the road and you don't know where you're going, most people will immediately slow down, and then they'll slow down and they'll turn the radio off, right? And they do that, and I find myself doing that, right?
Make the kids quiet. Yeah. We need silence right now.
I mean, just recently we were in Hawaii, and we decided to play the game of 90s driving around, which means we didn't use Apple Maps. Instead, we just used an actual physical map that they gave us. And you were the navigator. I
was the navigator with the physical maps in my hand.
Right. Mm-hmm. But there were plenty of times that, again, I didn't really know where I was going, and we didn't have Apple Maps telling us where to go or Siri telling us where to go. And so, when we were kind of figuring out where we're trying to go, we were going really slow, and we're turning the radio down or in the radio off. And what's interesting about that kind of metaphor is that the number one cause of accidents in the United States is actually getting rear-ended. And it's because people get panicked and they get afraid, and they don't look in the rearview mirror, and they don't see like someone behind them tailgating them, that again, they put the brakes on, they slow down, and they get hit from behind. But that's exactly what's going to happen in this economy with the tariff situation, is that people are going to slow down too much, and they're going to get rear-ended by a more aggressive business that's going to take them out. And so as a business owner or as a salesperson right now, you don't want to slow down. You want to actually speed up or maintain your speed, and you want to be the one that's in the attack, in the offensive position, not in the defensive position. So for example, like right now, they're saying that the Chinese tariffs could be 52%, which is insane. I mean, there some people are saying that like an iPhone could be $1,000 more than it used to be. But there's a business owner, a friend of ours right now that he owns a company that sells those little like trinkets to like Hallmark stores. And so we were having a conversation this week about it. And he said, like an ornament's going to be twice as expensive as it used to be. And he said, that's going to really, it's going to really be difficult for people. And so my immediate advice to him is I said, look, the first thing you need to do is you need to go find every single American manufacturer, and you need to go like buy all their inventory. You need to go, go buy them all up, because that's the opportunity. Like that's the advantage that you can have right now, is a warrior always finds an advantage. And so if everyone's kind of sitting around, they're putting the brakes on, they're slowing down, and they're kind of waiting to see what Trump's going to do, then everyone's going to be taken out. But the one who actually speeds up or seizes an opportunity and goes and buys up the very few remaining American manufacturers, well, that means the competition can't buy that inventory, which means they can only buy it from China, which means it's only going to cost twice as much, and which means they're not going to have the competitive position that you can have if you go attack right now.
That's amazing. Well, what I'm thinking about as you're saying it too is as the prices go up, sales professionals are so much more important. If I can buy it online, if I can buy it really cheap and I don't have to think about something, I don't need salespeople as much, right? There's more happening online in sales, but the more difficult it is to sell something, the more important the salesperson.
100%.
So right now, as a sales professional, I mean, this is a huge opportunity, one, to get ahead of it and honing our skills. So no matter what happens, and as the prices go up and other people are panicking or they are choking, not being able to keep up with it, and they're in their own head about it, if we can be grounded and disciplined and on point, we can be the ones, because people will still be buying. Just like your dad said, they're still going to be buying everything that's out in the market. It's from whom might be the masses of buying as much, but there will be people buying. And so if you're the one that can guide them, if you're the one that is the most helpful, has the highest integrity, has the most education, is the most persuasive in helping somebody to improve their life, you're the winner. And this could be a huge growth opportunity for you.
It can. Yeah. So this is a great opportunity for salespeople to immediately start training, start figuring out their selling message. Obviously, we have plenty of courses that people can or go to our website at fpg.com and check out all of our selling courses. Definitely can check out our selling style course in the comments below. They can definitely check that out as well. But yeah, this is a great opportunity that, again, the mentality always needs to be like offense. Like you need to find the opportunity. So to me, I think, step one, I always say, is see things as they are and not kind of better or worse than they are. So in this situation here, it's not that the tariffs are happening to me and I can't stand Trump for doing this, and he's this total jerk that's destroying my business. Instead, it's what if this was actually happening for me, and what if I was the one person that could like find the opportunity from this thing. And so see it exactly as it is, not kind of worse than it is, and then try to make it better, right? Like try to make it something, like find the advantage in all of it.
Yeah. Well, I knew you were going to put steps together, so I decided to make my own steps and to see how we do with them. So my step, I titled it a little bit differently, but was on point with what you said, which was don't give more meaning to things than you should. So look at the facts of it. And where I was thinking too of making sure that you're not in your head is whenever I think something is wrong, right? If I strongly disagree with tariffs in general, and that's my stance, and I believe that it's wrong, and I believe that our pricing is now wrong, I can't be successful with that. So compartmentalizing, you can dislike tariffs over here on this side, but also realize that people need your product and service. The price has to go up to survive. And so over here, I can still sell it at that price, not agreeing with tariffs maybe, but keeping it separate. So when you're at work, is that there's not a problem with it's not that your pricing is wrong. And it was reminding me of so many of the times when we're first working with teams is, we're trying to figure out what did they imagine their life to be like? And what did they see their career? And because what we could see is that the people who would vocalize that sales was their plan B career, I'm not really supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be a dentist. I'm supposed to be a lawyer. I'm supposed to be a business owner. But somehow things didn't work out exactly right, so I ended up here in sales. When we had that mentality, they were never able to reach their full potential until they did what you just said is, what if this happened? Wait, but this is where I'm supposed to be the whole time. What if this is happening for me? What if sales is my plan A? Like, what if that is who I'm supposed to be? And as soon as like that little switch in the brain happens, it's amazing to watch them fulfill everything that they should have been at the beginning, right? Who they really are. And they're able to help so many more people move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. Well, and that's just that's a perfect mental toughness strategy to constantly go through life and say, what if this was exactly how it was supposed to be? I mean, you mentioned that just was it yesterday, I believe. All the days are running and kind of combining my head right now. But we were in Hawaii and we heard Bethany Hamilton speak, and she is the soul surfer. She was the shark attack victim. And you made a comment about that and said, like, what if Bethany what if she never had her arm bitten off by a shark? Like, would we have ever really known who Bethany was? Or was she just been another surfer? I don't know. We don't know. But what we do know is that it's possible that life happened for her because she was a phenomenal keynote speaker. She gave a phenomenal message. She has some phenomenal material that people are inspired by, and she's made a huge difference in the world, because of that tragic accident that happened. But maybe that was exactly how it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, and you are not really known for being emotional and a crier, but you did tear up.
I did.
Hearing her speak. So share what she said that was so moving to you that it caused Jason Forrest to tear up.
Well, she said that the first thought in her mind when she was in the hospital and she was kind of coming back consciousness from, the tragic accident that happened when she was a teenager, is she said her first thought was, I'm so grateful to be alive, and which is just a phenomenal mentality that gratitude is the unyielding fuel for courage. But for her to immediately realize that she wasn't focused on the fact that her arm had been bitten off. She was focused on the fact that she was grateful that she was still alive.
Which is amazing.
That was very amazing. Yeah, it was very amazing for her to see the opportunity in all of it, which is interesting.
And I wonder right now, just, even looking at our lives or anybody else's lives is, are we staring at the missing arm, or are we staring at the fact that there's breath in our lungs and that we're alive? Mm-hmm. And there's you can always do that in every situation. So I think, her story is so powerful and she is so powerful. And, we were lucky to be able to hear from her, and we'd like to think that she would be able to have these stories and this impact without the accident, but we don't know. So in a way, it's a blessing. It's a blessing that happened, that so many people can be positively impacted from her today.
Well, and so I think that's important for people just to kind of make a note of. I mean, to really do a lifeline, to do a lifeline of their life, to go back and to say, here's all of these kind of events in my life that I think were happening to me, and it might have been, again, some kind of childhood horrible thing. Might have been they went through a divorce as an adult, or they went through a divorce as a child, or maybe they lost a loved one. I mean, some an abusive relationship. I mean, something that happened that, again, they would kind of note down as this happened to me. But next to each one go, okay, well, like, maybe this happened for me, and who am I because of this? Like, what did I learn from this? And what am I able to do now that I didn't do before because of this experience? I mean, like that, which is interesting. What did it teach me, and how did it shape me? Because everything in life shapes you. I mean, it's again, we are who we are today because of something that was directly instructed to us, because we observed something, because we rebelled from something. So it's some sort of experience that shaped us. And so again, we could look at it from, this is exactly how it was supposed to be, or this is something that has kind of held me back.
So what would that situation be for you? What was something that at the time felt like it was happening to you, felt like the worst thing in the world, and now looking back, you realize that it maybe changed the trajectory of your life or gave you new learning or insight that allowed you to be the person and have the success you have today?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is when I broke my hip skateboarding. So, I'm in the 6th grade, and I'm a huge skateboarder. My favorite publication in life was Thrasher magazine. I wore all black and had a side spike, and I mean, I was up to no good. I shoplifted. I mean, I did all kinds of things I probably shouldn't have done. Again,
you definitely shouldn't have done
as a 5th grader and a 6th grader, and and I made like bombs and smoke bombs and all kinds. I just did a lot of stuff that I wasn't supposed to do as a 5th grade, 6th grader, latchkey kid growing up in the 80s. And there was this moment where I was going into my 6th grade. It was summer before 6th grade, and all of a sudden I broke my hip on a skateboarding accident. And I remember I laid there. It was kind of dark outside, and I laid there for many hours. And finally, my dad comes out, and he kind of rescues me and puts me in bed. And the next morning, wake up, and we go to 3 different hospitals, and finally end up realizing that I broke my hip as a 6th grader, which is not a normal thing to do at that age. And so now I'm in a body cast for 6 weeks, and so during that time, I just made a decision that I don't want to do skateboarding ever again. And so, which not to say that skateboard friends are bad or anything, but immediately that was a decision that kind of changed my life, because I didn't do skateboarding anymore. And so at that moment, I started playing football, started playing sports. And so I stopped hanging out with skateboard friends and started hanging out with football friends. And so just had an entirely different kind of group of friends that I hung out with. And so I hung out with football friends. Then I became a part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes. There was no such thing as Fellowship of Christian Skateboarders. They don't have that. Maybe they should.
They probably should.
It'd probably be a good thing to do. And so I just had a completely different path that I was on. So I think you could easily say at that moment that breaking my hip as a 6th grade kid happened for me and not happened to me, because it completely changed the trajectory of my life at that very moment. So what about you?
Well, that was a good story. So I would think in middle school too. I mean, the one of the big changes in my life was in middle school, and I similarly, I think it was one of those days in the 90s where your parents locked the door and told you to like hang outside all day and drink from the hose and those sorts of days. So I was out, and one of my friends, her parents were both working, and so we went to her house. We were not supposed to go inside the house because there were no parents there, but we went inside the house, and her parents came home and found that she was in the house. I was hiding in a closet, and it was very traumatic, more traumatic for her than for me. But her parents were so upset that her stepfather started beating her that day, and I snuck out of the house, and I was very traumatized. And I remember going to the counselors at school going, I don't know what to do, but this is really bad. And they said, well, we can't really do anything, but here's a number for CPS if you want to call them. And so that night I called them and let them know what I saw. And I kind of thought that would be the end of it, and they would just take care of it. But like 3 police cars showed up at my house. And because of that, the kids in the neighborhood put it together that I was the one who had called, because the police showed up at her house next. And that started a lot of bullying, really bad bullying, getting, just really mean. I mean, we didn't have cell phones and text messages, but back in the day, it was the really mean notes getting passed about you or to you. There was it It was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. But the good that came from it, one, is I hope she I never told anybody what I saw. I never spoke a word of it ever, because my whole goal in calling CPS was to protect her. And so it was never to, I didn't need to share that with anybody at school. So people knew, but they didn't know my side of the story. And of course, she said that nothing was happening, which she was embarrassed. And I completely understand that. So it was really horrible and lonely and terrible. But what it did is it first solidified in me that the knowing that I remember I had somebody ask me, like, would you do it again? Like, would you call CPS again, knowing what you know now? And for a second I was like, I don't know, because this is really bad. And I mean, I had was getting, physically beat up at school and things. I was like, I don't know. And then I thought I would. And so for me, it just grounded the fact that I will do the right thing, even if it's horrible for me. I'll do the right thing. And so I have that to look back on and to know, like, no matter how bad it was, I did the right thing, and I would always do the right thing again. And so that's just, it really solidified my character to myself. I'm not just saying that I would do something. I've got evidence. And I've been able to lean on that several different times in my life. But the other thing that it did is all of a sudden, I wanted to get out of that school so bad. And the only way out was to get into a private school. And the only way to do that was to have really, really, really good grades. And so that changed my whole life, where I never considered going to private school. I never really thought about my education that seriously. And that was what had me start studying like crazy. I had tutors, did everything to get into a very prestigious boarding school in the Northeast. But without that catalyst of like, I've got to get out of here, I cannot be at this school anymore, I wouldn't have done that. And then all of a sudden, my eyes were open to an entirely different world, different types of people, levels of success, levels of knowledge and education, and conversations that I had never been a part of before. And so it just was the first thing that opened my eyes to a different world, changed my whole trajectory of my life.
Yeah. Well, so I think that's important. I think it's important for people to really to acknowledge that, and that again goes along with the whole, again, the Bethany Hamilton concept of be grateful for the life that you have been given. And I love that metaphor that you just said. Don't focus on the fact that you lost your arm. Focus instead on the fact that you still have your life, which is amazing. Here's a fun. This goes along with the whole tariff concept, and because right now people, I think, could immediately be looking at this as these tariffs are happening to me and not happening for me, and I immediately need to slow down. I need to put the brakes on. I need to shut my business down. There's no way my business is going to make it. People aren't going to spend this higher price that I'm going to have to charge. So that could be the thoughts that are going on right now, which is, I would assume, is the thoughts, which is why the stock market immediately crashed. And then, of course, when Trump reversed it, the stock market's going back up again. So people do believe that, because that's the evidence of the stock market. But what's interesting is there are going to be people that innovate from this. And so here's a fun trivia question for you. Do you know where do you think more innovation comes from if you're in a prison sentence? If you're a prisoner and you're either a lifetime prisoner, so you're in prison for life, or you're in prison for like less than 12 months. Where do you think more innovation comes from inside the prison? From the prisoners who are there for life, or the prisoners who are there for like a year?
I'm going to say life, because I'm going to say if you only have 12 months, you're like, hey, in 12 months, I can drink a bottle of wine. But if you're in there for life, you're inventing toilet wine.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Was it the toilet wine example also part of the thing?
That's exactly right. So what's interesting is toilet wine is not created from people who are there for 12 months or 6 months, because again, their mindset is this too shall pass, and they don't have to figure out new ways to innovate and new ways to like find success in the situation. It's not finite for them, or it is finite for them, right? It's not infinite for them. But people who are there for life, they have to figure out, okay, I'm going to be here for life, so I got to make the most of the situation. And that's literally how toilet wine is created. So toilet wine is created, innovation's created from people who are there for life. So it'd actually be better for people right now, like the innovation is going to come from people who say this tariff thing is never going to go away. Like that would actually be where the innovation comes. Like if we could actually start believing right now that the tariffs are going to be a fixed thing and Trump is going to make them last forever and it's going to be the new normal, like whoever believes that is going to be the one who's going to have the highest probability of taking advantage of the opportunity. The business owners who say, look, this is not going to last. It's creating too much death and destruction. I'm sure there'll be some counterbalances with this. Those people won't create any innovation because, again, they're very external. They're going to wait for this too shall pass.
Well, it's so interesting. But that reminds me of the very beginning of the COVID lockdowns when you were sharing that. And people like, it's only 2 weeks. It's only 2 weeks. And you were like, you need to sell today as if you are going to be selling from your house, locked down for the rest of your life. We are never allowed to walk outside again. Sell that way. And there was, a huge difference. People like, okay, I'm gonna take a 2-week vacation and slow down versus those that were like, that listened to you, had those webinars back then of this, what if this is how it is forever? Like it's never going to change. You're never going to come out of your house. You're going to have to sell from this way. How are you going to do it?
Mm-hmm. And that is the message we're giving our home building clients right now. So they're saying that the average home price is going to go up between $9,000 to $10,000 based upon, again, all the imports from China and from Mexico and different places. And so now the immediate argument is, well, the Fed's going to lower the interest rate. And so the interest rate should lower to kind of counterbalance that. But listen to that mentality. That's that whole, this too shall pass, is that it's very external. And people were like, well, it's not going to go up $10,000. It's not really that big of a deal because the Fed's going to come out and they're going to counterbalance it with lower interest rates. And that could be true. But again, that's not the way that a warrior thinks. A warrior thinks, I'm going to take advantage of the situation. And so the advice that I'm giving and we're giving all of our clients right now is that if you have inventory homes on the ground, you need to use this as circumstantial urgency, meaning that if you buy this house today, you're going to get a $9,000 to $10,000 resale value insurance policy. I mean, if you buy this home today versus us build a house for you in 9 months, the house today will be $9,000 less expensive than if we were to build one for you that we now have to import things from China, which means we now have that 52% tariff, which means the price is going to go higher. So if you want to get the absolute best price possible, you need to buy today. And as these inventory homes go away, then the price is only going to go up. So that has to be the message. The message cannot be, don't worry about it. I'm sure the Fed will come in and rescue us. That actually kills the urgency.
Wow. Well, it's so many, selling your inventory homes is such a big deal. So that's a huge, huge way and advantage right now to do it. But I do want to, you've used the word external a couple of times. So I want to describe external versus internal in your way. Can I
Please.
Make sure everybody understands? Okay. So you look at everybody else now. So for external is when Jason's using that word, what he means is I believe that something outside of me has to change, external to me has to change in order for me to change, for my results to change. Versus if Jason says somebody's internal, I'm not looking at the interest rates. I'm not looking at tariffs. I'm looking at, hey, I'm not very good when somebody brings up money. I get uncomfortable and it's about me. Or I know that I'm really good when I'm selling to somebody that's like me, but if they're from a different culture or a different age, I'm not good at it. So it's whether I'm looking at what inside me needs to change versus what out in the world needs to change instead. So every time he says that they're being external, he means they're looking at something outside of themselves that is the reason they're successful or not successful. Did I do a good job with that?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That sounds great. Well,
okay.
And to take something that you've taught me in a different, this is from a different concept that you've said, but now I'm going to apply it to this concept, is that I believe, not to put words in your mouth, but I believe you would say that the most selfless thing that you can do is to actually be selfish and to not be external. Because what's interesting is, right, so often people go, you know what, I'm going to be, I'm all about worrying about other people. Well, the problem is if you worry about other people, you would also be victimized by being external. Like, I'm worried about what other people are thinking. But if you want to truly serve the world, then you would actually want to be selfish and be focused on my own internal belief systems and not to be controlled by external opinions. And by doing that, now you're going to be grounded. Now you're going to be the rock, which means now you truly can actually serve others.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a definitely better way to say it than I used to. And it's interesting because things kind of change back and forth. And when I used to say all the time, and you're right, I used to say all the time, the most selfless thing you can be is to be selfish. The most selfless thing you can be is to be selfish. And I would say it because I was working with all of these people that were spread so thin, excuse me. And they were giving to everybody else. They weren't giving to themselves. And then so what they were then giving back out to other people wasn't very great. It was lackluster. It was, half done. And that was because they weren't taking any time to make sure they were learning, they were growing, they were rested. I mean, rest is important. They weren't doing any of that. They weren't taking the time to eat what was right, to move their bodies, all of this, not because of laziness or something, because they were giving. Now, not just, now sometimes I definitely give that message, but I also there are people that are, the self-care is off the charts and into a place of I don't know what it's called, but it's overboard of not doing it. And so we need a little bit more selflessness. So I think it's back and forth, but you're right. When you add that internal piece in it, it's because I'm doing something because I know it's right. I know it's good. I know it's in alignment with my values, not because it's what the world is going to tell me is right or good, or is going to be acceptable, or is going to make me popular. I'm going to do what's right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. So, okay, so I think to me right now, so one of our most popular course right now, which makes sense, is the 6 strategies to sell through a down market, and that course, we're kicking off new clients every single week. Literally just an hour ago, I sold another company on that basically was a 10-week challenge. So we teach these 6 strategies over a 10-week challenge. And so if people are interested in that, then definitely go to fpg.com and fill out a form and say you're interested in the 10-week challenge on how to sell through a down economy. And this is where we actually take you through these concepts. We have one client right now that's going through it from 2 weeks ago. And just after the first lesson, said they used the concepts and sold a house, sold a home, just by doing some of the things that we taught, which is pretty awesome. And so kind of going over some other things that people can start doing immediately, today. So number one, we talked about, again, seeing things as they are and not worse than they are, focusing on the facts, which is important, and not the kind of the feelings, which I think is an important thing to do. And then the second thing I would say too is just focus on what you are selling. And so if you know that people right now, again, there's obviously a reason why they're talking to you. And so you need to focus on the value that you're bringing and the resolution. So what's the problem they're really trying to solve? And you need to make sure that you're always framing your product or service to what it's going to do for the customer, not the kind of the features of the actual product or service.
Yeah, the result they're going to get from it, the happiness of living in their home, the joy of connection with their family, or the freedom they're going to feel having a new car that doesn't break down on them, and how safety and how much certainty they're going to have with their family because of that. So that result, those emotions, versus, let me tell you, the features of this home, car, etc.
100%.
I love that. I think too, on the pricing, and really we're talking about the tariffs here. We're talking about prices raised, and we talked about homes being $9,000 to $10,000 more. I think one thing that we always need to categorize and really think through when talking to somebody is sometimes when somebody brings up that they don't want to pay something or they don't like the price, I think the salesperson's brain sometimes translates that into they can't afford it. And so then what we allow ourselves to do is not sell it because we think, if they can't afford it and I sell it to them, they could go bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And this would be the worst thing in the world. And so it is from a place of integrity, but our brain is playing tricks on us. It's a lot of times, most of the time, it's not that they can't afford it. It's that they don't love the price of it. But even if your prices went down, people don't really usually like the price of it. Mm-hmm. And so getting the meaning there, the emotions they have about the price, away and not letting that give you meaning as well, and knowing that it's okay for somebody to not love the price and it to still be a fair price, and that they will move forward. We move forward every single day on things that we don't love the price of. I don't love the price of gas ever, right? No matter how low it goes, I'm not really thrilled about it. I don't like the price of eggs or, chicken or whatever is up, or even when it's down, you're like, oh man, grocery bills, they're high, but I still buy it. And so knowing that for our customers as well is that it might be inconvenient or frustration, but it's very few people that a lot of times it will take off the market. There'll be some, and we'll honor that. They won't qualify, and we honor that, and we help them to wait or find a way that they can have it in the future. But for the most people, it's not about not being able to afford. It's just being frustrated that the price is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so to your point, so a great strategy that a salesperson could do is just the concept of desensitizing. So the idea behind it is that whenever things are more expensive, so like right now, just again, buying a car or whatever it is, the first time you hear the price, you're like, I cannot believe it's that expensive. There's no way I'm going to buy that. And then obviously, you say I'm not going to buy it, and then someone else buys it, and they're like, I'm still not going to buy it, and then someone else buys it, and you're like, there's no way I'm going to buy that, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm getting used to the price now, and then eventually you're like, fine, I'll buy it. And so that happens. Like that's how life works, is that we don't like something at first, but then the more we kind of get ourselves around it, the more we desensitize. So a salesperson can actually do this. A salesperson can ask them questions just like that. So they can say, hey, so yes, they would just factually say, yes, this home is $10,000 more than you were hoping to spend. I'm curious, since it does solve this problem for you and it does improve your life in the following ways, how do you feel about paying $10,000 more than you were hoping to pay? And of course, the customer is going to tell you their feeling. They're going to say, there's no, hell no, there's no way I'm going to do that. Or they're going to say, I don't like it. Or they're going to say, I'm not sure. But whatever they say is the starting point. And so then all you need to do is just keep value stacking it. So then you would continue on and go, no problem. The last thing I ever want you to do is to buy something that you don't feel excited about spending money towards. And then you just need to continue the process and show them more value and show them the results, and then ask them again. So now that you're able to get this, and now that it's going to solve this problem for you, how do you feel about it now? Before you said, hell no, how do you feel now? And I would actually say that. I would actually repeat back to them the actual feeling phrases they said, hell no, or I'm scared, or I'm not sure, like repeat it back to them, because if I can repeat back what they said, I'm also desensitizing their words by duplicating the phrases they used.
Well, and it's so cool because what you're saying is they're going to go through this process with or without you. They're going to go through it where they eventually buy it. I think the best way is always think about for yourself, like what seemed like an outrageous price to you for something that eventually you paid for, and know they're going to do it. So they're either going to do it with you or without you. And if it's without you, one, it could take them a lot longer to get there, but they're going to get there, or they're going to end up with something that's not as good, a lesser product or service. And so the best thing we can do is desensitizing them and bringing awareness. And it's not that it's different, right? It would be manipulative if your product or service was not as good and it was priced more than everything else and the person didn't need it. But if they need and want what you have, that's the price, right? I mean, if they're like, no, what I want a 4,000 square foot house that has a pool and a huge lot on a corner in a great neighborhood, and I want to spend, $250,000 on it. That's awesome. It doesn't exist, right? Mm-hmm. So the best thing we could do for them is to help desensitize them to the price that they can afford, help desensitize them to that price so they can get there. Otherwise, we're sending them out on a wild goose chase. Like, it doesn't exist, right? That what they're looking for at the price they want doesn't exist. If it does exist, then send them there. But most of the time, it's not a match. And so we need to help them get there as fast as possible so they can get into that house that's going to improve their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but a word of caution for everyone is if you start this desensitizing process, you must finish it, because if you don't, then you've basically laid up your customer for your biggest competitor. And what I mean by that is if they start the process with you, there's like, hell no, I'm not going to spend $10,000 more for this. There's no way I'm going to do this. That's ridiculous. I can't believe you guys are charging that. And then all of a sudden you get them to, I need to sleep on it. I'm feeling better about it, but I need to sleep on it. And then they immediately leave and they go to your competitor, and that competitor now gets to start that customer off with, I need to sleep on it, to it's a no-brainer. And so we got to be careful with that. And Mary, I can tell you, it's amazing how many times I have taken a customer from, I need to sleep on it, to this is a no-brainer, because the competitor already desensitized them from, hell no to maybe to okay to I need to sleep on it. And I just pick them up. And how do I do that? I just ask them. I just say, hey, so I'm curious, how long have you been trying to solve your problem of blank? And they'll say, well, I've been, kind of doing it for the last month. We're trying to figure this out. And so, how do you feel about paying blank for blank? And they say, and they're like, well, at first I really didn't like it, but after really thinking about it and talking to so-and-so about it, other people, I just realized this is just how much it costs. And I go, got it. And so what's your number one area of resistance from making a change today and solving that problem and improving your life in the following ways? And they're like, well, I mean, nothing really, just wanting to just make sure I'm making the right decision. Sounds great. And so what all I'm doing is I'm just kind of picking up wherever they left off with the last competitor, and then just kind of taking them to the finish line.
Awesome. All right. So help the people out. They've done the work. They've got them. The prospect is now saying, Jason, I need to sleep on it. Spent a lot of time with you today. This is a lot to think about, a lot to cover. I need to sleep on it. What do you say back?
Perfect. So I think the best thing to do in that moment is to agree with them and see if you can kind of match pace lead with that. So what I would do is I would say, I completely understand the importance of sleeping on it. So in my opinion, anytime a customer wants to sleep on it, it's usually because there's an unresolved decision that needs to be made. And so let me just make sure that we haven't missed any decisions. And so let's go back through that. So we first started, you said that you were unhappy with your home because of the following reasons, and the problem you were trying to solve is this, and you had to get out of that situation because of blank. Is that still the case? Yes, that's still the case. Perfect. You also said that you weren't sure about the part of town you wanted to live in, and so we narrowed down that you wanted to live in, North Fort Worth versus South Fort Worth. Is that still true because of the following reasons? Yeah, that's true. We also realized that you wanted to have new construction versus an older home because of maintenance and different reasons. Is that also the case? Yeah, that's the case. And so what I would do is I would just kind of go back through each of the decisions, and eventually one of two things would happen. Is either one, there would be an unresolved decision, and so maybe it's the yard, or maybe it's the price, or maybe it's the features, or there's some kind of unresolved decision, and that would be the one that would get kind of hung up, and I would park myself there and I would understand, solve, and resolve that decision. Or I get to a point where there's no unresolved decisions, and at that moment, then I would just give them permission to buy and say, well, in my experience, there's nothing else really for you to decide on. You've decided on all of these decisions. So the next major decision you need to make is to sign the purchase agreement and make this yours. So that's how I would do it.
It's good. Very good.
Yeah. So okay. So kind of a couple final thoughts here on the importance of taking advantage of, again, this kind of tariff situation. Number one is I definitely think that in times like this, just remind yourself that anyone who's starting out today in sales or in business has the upper hand, because this is their normal. So you have to make sure that you change your mindset immediately. That how do I have kind of that learner's, that newbie mindset, that I'm going into this as the new normal. Otherwise, if you go into it with more of like a veteran mindset, then you might kind of fall victim that this is happening to you and not for you, and you're more likely to say this too shall pass. And so just know that people are starting out right now in this economy, and this is just how they're doing it, and they just don't know any better. And so it's better to kind of go into that kind of ignorance is bliss kind of mentality. So I would say that's important. And then also, I would say another thing people need to pay attention to, number two, is that there's just a skill gap. So there's always a skill gap. So right now the circumstances have changed. There is this new tariff thing that is going to cause uncertainty for your buyers. And so you just need to recognize that there is a skill gap that you're lacking, and you need to figure out, okay, what do I need to say, do, or think about that's different that would give me the advantage, and kind of work through that. But any other kind of final thoughts from you on this?
I mean, the biggest thing for me right now is just how exciting this is as a sales professional. It definitely takes more, but you can get more right now, right? It's going to take more from you. It's going to take more thought. It's going to take more discipline. It's going to take more preparedness on your skill set. But there's so much more that we can get from it because of that. And so let this be a time of great success and affluence.
Perfect. Good. Yeah. Just exactly what my dad would always say is that, people are still buying in this economy. The only question is from whom. And so you just want to be the whom. That's the secret of the whole thing. All right. And so if you like this message today, if you like this conversation about how to take advantage of unfortunate situations, and a warrior always finds an advantage, then definitely like, subscribe, and share so that you can see even more content from us, the Jason Forrest Show. Until next time, this is Jason Forrest. Push yourself to become a better version of you.